Okay, so let's jump right in. We all know about ancient rules like the Ten Commandments, right? For, centuries, they've basically been used as a stick to measure how other people are behaving. But what if we've been using them all wrong? Today, we're going to explore a pretty wild idea. What if these rules were never meant to be a weapon to judge others, but were actually a mirror for understanding ourselves?
And this quote right here, this really nails it. It's suggesting that every single time we point the finger at someone else, we're climbing up on this little pedestal, claiming some kind of moral purity that, if we're being totally honest with ourselves, we probably haven't earned. It's a pretty challenging thought, isn't it? It kind of forces you to question the whole reason you judge in the first place.
And that leads us to the big question of this whole explainer. What happens if we just flip the entire script? What if we stop using these rules to build a case against our neighbors and we start using them as a diagnostic tool for what's going on inside of us? I'm telling you that one simple shift, it changes everything.
So to do this, we need a framework. The source material for this idea suggests that our ego is basically a master of disguise, and it uses three main masks to hide our real motives, even from ourselves. These masks are what let us feel so justified and so righteous, even when our actions are, well, coming from a much messier place. So let's break them down one by one. First up, we have the mask of dignity. This is when we dress up our ego in the fancy language of principles. We say things like, I'm just standing up for what's right, when the truth is, we might just be terrified of being wrong, or we're basically throwing a grown-up tantrum. It's a really sneaky way to make plain old stubbornness look like heroic integrity. Okay, next, there's arrogance. This is the mask that convinces us that we are the exception to every rule. It's that little voice in the back of your head whispering, oh, that could never happen to me. It promotes our own gut feelings to the level of some divine, unquestionable truth. This is your ego telling you that your judgment is basically perfect. And the third mask is superiority. Now this one is probably the most common of all. It's that little trick our brain plays where we look down on someone for their super obvious flaws just to distract from our own, which are usually just better hidden. It's like we judge their messy living room to feel better about the mess we've shoved into our own closets. So here's where it all comes together. We've got the rules, and we've got the three masks our ego loves to wear. Now, let's actually put them to work. We're going to use these masks, dignity, arrogance, and superiority, as a set of diagnostic questions to see what a few of these ancient rules might actually be telling us about, well, us. Let's start with a big one. Have no idols. On the surface, it seems pretty cut and dry. Don't worship statues, don't bow down to false gods. Got it. But when we look at it through the lens of the ego, it gets a lot more personal and, frankly, a lot more uncomfortable. Okay, let's check for dignity. Ask yourself this. Is my passionate defense of this belief really about some objective truth? Or am I maybe just protecting an identity? Am I terrified of what it would mean if the me I've built around this belief was suddenly proven wrong? Sometimes our biggest principles are really just our biggest bodyguards for our ego. Now let's try on arrogance. Do we worship a higher power, or have we accidentally created one in our own image? Think about it. Does the God you talk about just happen to hate all the same politicians you do and love all the same things you stand for? Because that's not really worship, is it? That's just giving your own personal biases a divine promotion. And finally, superiority. Man, it is so easy to judge someone for a very visible addiction, to alcohol, to drugs, whatever. But what about our own hidden idols? Are we any less devoted to our reputation, our career, our need to be seen as busy and productive all the time? We're often just worshiping at a different altar, one that just happens to be a little more socially acceptable. All right, let's try another one. Rule number 8, do not steal. Most of us hear that and think, check, I'm not a thief, moving on. But when we hold up that mirror of the ego, the definition of what it means to steal gets a whole lot bigger. Here's the dignity check. We like to call ourselves frugal or efficient. It sounds so responsible. But is that dignified label just a mask for a quiet kind of theft? Are we stealing the credit for a project our team worked on? Are we stealing the attention in every conversation? Are we stealing company time because we feel like we're entitled to it? It's all theft, just with a much better brand name. And what about arrogance? This is that little voice that justifies, taking extra office supplies home or fudging an expense report because, hey, the corporation is greedy anyway, the whole system is rigged. But just look at the irony there. In that moment, we are acting with the exact same self-serving greed that we say we despise in others.
Which brings us right to superiority. We might see a story on the news about a shoplifter and feel this huge moral distance from them. But then, how many of us steal an hour, maybe more, from our employer every single day just doom scrolling on our phones? Yeah, the dollar amount might be different, but is the basic act of taking something that isn't ours, is it really all that different?
Okay, for our last example, let's use one we can all relate to. Rule number 9, do not lie. Again, seems simple on the surface, but the ego is a master storyteller, and its favorite stories are often the little fictions we tell ourselves and we tell other people. Let's start with dignity. This is the classic justification for the white lie. We tell ourselves we're being compassionate, we're protecting their feelings. But are we really? Or are we just protecting ourselves from a difficult, awkward conversation? Is it actually compassion, or is it just cowardice wearing a really nice, dignified mask?
Then, of course, comes the arrogance. This is the belief that we're smart enough to control the outcome of our lies. We think our little deceptions don't matter because, hey, we can handle it. We can spin the story. We're totally underestimating the explosive power of the truth and completely overestimating our own cleverness.
And finally, the superiority check. And wow, this one is tailor-made for our times. We scroll through social media and complain about how fake everyone is, how inauthentic. But then we turn around and spend an hour choosing the perfect filter and writing a witty caption that presents a totally curated, not quite real version of our own lives. So after all that, what's the takeaway? Look, the goal here is not to make you feel awful. Not at all. The real goal is to offer a really powerful shift in perspective. It's about taking these rules out of the courtroom, where we're the judge of everyone else, and bringing them into the doctor's office for a personal checkup. And this slide, this really says it all. The old way is using these rules to build a rap sheet on other people, which just confirms how right and good we are. But the new way, the way we've been talking about today, it transforms that same list into a diagnostic tool for our own ego. It reveals the masks we're wearing and the games we're playing, especially with ourselves. So, as we close this out, the only thing left is to actually pick up that mirror. Forget about everyone else, just for a minute. If you genuinely use these questions as a tool for self-reflection, what does your reflection show you?